So we come just as we are. Jesus takes us where we are, what we are, He takes us just in our sin, and He meets us where we are. So let's just take a moment and just think about the goodness of God, how good He is. I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. And every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after me. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. That song, it gets me. I mean, just think how good God is. He is so good to us. I mean, there's so many moments we don't even realize He's taking care of us. So many times that we are not worthy of His goodness. And we don't even realize it. I mean, that's the thing is, He's just so big and so mighty and so powerful. And He wants a relationship with each one of us. He wants us to come to Him for every little thing. And, we just have to realize we need Him in every moment. We need Him with everything that we have. But before we get to that song, we're going to do welcome and announcements.
Okay, guys. Welcome to worship. It's always good to be in the house of the Lord. And our call to worship today is from Psalm 138, verses 1 to 3. So let's read that together. I give you thanks, O Lord, with all my heart. I will sing your praises before the gods. I bow before your holy temple as I worship. I praise your name, for your unfailing love and faithfulness, for your promises are backed by all the honor of your name. As soon as I pray, you answer me. You encourage me by giving me strength. And we're going to run through our announcements real quick. The 150th anniversary of Stewart First Congregational Church is going to be celebrated on September 19th. Do we have a sign-up sheet for help? So Sharon has graciously put a sign-up sheet down in the hallway. We need to have some committees to help us. We have various items you can choose to sign up under. I don't know what all those categories are, but it's down in the hall. So there's that one. We are on YouTube. I had Mariella yesterday, did not realize we're on YouTube, so we're bringing that back up again. We have the channel, Stewart FCC. If you go on there, it's not live stream, but they are up usually by Sunday night if you want to watch the services. And they're there all the time. We have Pastor Mike Wagner in the house today. Thank you for that. And on to some celebrations. First one. Mom, are you ready? It's Easton Gettler. He is having a birthday. He went to Grandma's house instead of church, but we'll forgive him for that. Happy birthday, Easton. And Easton's dad, Jeremy, I didn't pick the picture. I'm just saying he's painting nails. They are getting ready to go to church, and he's got his girls around him painting toenails. I think that's awesome. Let's give him a round of applause. And happy birthday to Connie. She watches us on the live stream, and she is Rick Holly's mom. So happy birthday, Connie. And my mother-in-law as well. So we're going to open our service in prayer. Dear Father in heaven, we come to you and we humbly ask you to lead us today. Open our ears to hear your word. Open our spiritual eyes to see your presence. Open our arms to embrace your goodness and your mercy. And open our minds to the beauty of your truth in the words you have given to your servant Mike today. As Psalm 119 states, the unfolding of the word brings light. Again, the unfolding of the word brings light. So you're here with us, you're here among us, you're surrounding us. And we now offer up this time of worship to you as the center. In Jesus' precious and holy name, we pray. Amen.
Lord, I come, I confess, bowing here, I find my rest, and without you, I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Where sin runs deep, your grace is more. Where grace is found is where you are. And where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour
it's Christ alone. It's nothing that we do. It's nothing that we can do. It's only Christ that saves us.
In Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song, this cornerstone, this solid ground, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are stilled, when striving cease, my comforter, my all in all, here in the love of Christ I stand. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless faith, this gift of love and righteousness, scorned by the ones he came to save, till on that cross as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied. For every sin on him was laid. Here in the depth of Christ I live. There in the ground his body lay, light of the world by darkness slain, then bursting
Let's all
forth in glorious day, up from the grave he rose again, and as he stands in victory, since curse has lost its grip on me, for I am his and he is mine, bought with the precious blood of Christ. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. Solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. From life's first strife to final breath, Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand, till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I stand. He returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I stand.
For Beanie Drake, Gary Neighborhouse, Steele McLaren, Cheyenne Jensen, Scott Vetch, Carrie Cornwell, Liz Edwards, Brian Ellis, Stacy Stover, Todd Broman, Linda Jonas, John and Liz Moore, and Charlie Hawley. So if you would pray with me. Dear Lord, please pray for these people, and they can feel your comfort and your healing. Amen. And there's 3 ways that you can help if you want to financially support our church. You can either go online or use bill pay or by the mail, and there are 2 offering plates in the back of the church.
Everybody, how are you doing today? All right. Hey, June. Okay, so we're going to talk about a word today, and the word we're going to talk about is impossible. Okay, do y'all know what that means?
Yeah.
It means you can't do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be really brave today. James, can you tell me one thing you think's impossible?
I think what's impossible is making a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Making a Tyrannosaurus Rex for us.
Alive.
To come back alive is impossible. We're just going to do one. I know you all have good ones. You can tell me later. I was like taking my chances there anyway. Well, some things that come to my mind are, it's impossible for us to have more than 24 hours in a day. Sometimes we adults want more than that. It's impossible to lick your own elbow. I knew somebody would try it. It's impossible to put an elephant in our car, right under those speakers.
A baby elephant.
Maybe a baby elephant. We got some thinkers here, critical thinking. Okay, so there's actually a lot of things in the world that kind of are impossible, and there's some things that just seem impossible, but really they're not. And so Booth boys, we're going to start with the bumblebee. So number 1 is the humble bumblebee. So the bumblebee it's way more amazing than most people actually think. Because compared to other flying insects, they're really heavy and fat and big. And to go with that, they have little tiny wings. Not the best combination, would you say? So when scientists very first studied bumblebees, they were befuddled. You know what befuddled means? It means you can't figure it out. They were like, this shouldn't be possible. They're flying around. Their wings are too little to carry all that weight. But the more they studied, they found out that instead of flapping up and down, bumblebees do kind of more back and forth, and they do it like way faster than other insects. So it's a lot of work for them, but they go out every day, they buzz around flowers, they gather nectar, and they just go about their bee business because they don't know they're nearly impossible, okay? So they just end up being unstoppable. That's number 1, the humble bumblebee. The next one has to do with just a humble piece of paper. So last week, if you were at my message, I folded and cutted paper, and some of you that know me well know that's an anxiety for me, okay? I'm overcoming those anxieties. So we're bringing back paper again today. Because it worked so well last week, I got bold, okay? So who here thinks that it's possible for me to cut a hole in this card that I can fit my head through? Is that impossible?
Yeah.
She doesn't think it is. Well, let's see. All right. I'm going to cut some cuts. I'm not just going to make like any normal hole. I'm going to make a lot of cuts, and we're going to see what happens. And I'm a little nervous, so my hands are shaking, because if this doesn't work out, I will cry. Okay, so there's that, and I'm going to snip. Let's count. 2. Help me, spur me on. 3 and 4. I think that's enough cutting. That's a lot of cutting. I'll put my scraps away. Okay, so this is our little piece of paper. And I cut a little, whoops, big enough to put my head through if I didn't rip it. What's that? You knew I wasn't going to do the impossible. So the point of all this is sometimes we think things are impossible. Well, sometimes they are impossible, like licking our elbows. None of you accomplished that. Putting the elephant in our car, if it's not a baby, you're close. But some things are possible even when we don't think they are, like the bumblebee and like getting a small piece of paper around our head. So here's the important thing to know. We're humans, so we have things for us that are possible and we have things that are impossible. But what I want you to learn today is with God, nothing's impossible. You could come up with any challenge in the world for God, and if he wanted to do it, he could. Now, you might come up with a lot of things he doesn't want to do, but God does not have limits like we do, okay? So in the Bible, in Luke 1:26, which is in the New Testament, in Luke 1:26, it says, all things are possible for God. And in the Old Testament, in Jeremiah 32:17, it says nothing's too hard for God, okay? He's not limited like we are. So what I want you to learn today is we serve a great, big, amazing God. And he's working in our lives like all the time. You don't even know it. He's working in our lives. He loves us. He cares for us. He's always there for us. So when you have a day when you're sad, let's not play with this, sorry. When you're sad or you feel weighted down like a big fat old bumblebee and you're not going anywhere, or you have a big thing you have to get done and you just don't feel like you can do it, here's the deal. In those times, we are called to trust in God, okay? We're going to trust God in the face of the impossible because our God is unstoppable. Can you say unstoppable?
Unstoppable.
Yes, let's close in prayer, kids. Dear God, we are amazed that nothing's impossible for you. Help us to remember we can trust you every day, even when it seems impossible. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, you can go to Children's Church, my friends.
I have a friend whose name is Glenn, and he is scary smart. Does anyone have a scary smart friend? Or does anyone think you are the scary smart friend? When I say Glenn is scary smart, I really mean it. He is a PhD smart. He's a scientist and a plant geneticist. And he's my friend. He's my friend. Over a month ago, he was out hiking. He's about 10 years younger than me. He was out hiking, and he was up on top of a hill, and suddenly one side of his body wouldn't work. And you might have guessed that he was having a stroke. He was having a mild stroke, and he had never experienced that, and the people with him didn't know what that was all about. And they were able to get down to the bottom of the mountain very quickly and get him some help, and an ambulance came, and he's doing rather well. In fact, I had lunch with him 2 weeks ago. And so he began to explain to me, because he's scary smart, he began to explain to me how things work in terms of strokes. Now, there are many different kinds of strokes, but the kind of stroke that he had is relatively common. And what happened is that they immediately gave him a certain kind of medicine. Now, I've written it down to make sure that I have it exactly right. It's called tissue plasminogen activator. TPS for short. For us regular people, it's just TPS, okay? And I said, well, it's great that they had that medicine. It's a clot blocker, breaker upper. It breaks up clots in a powerful, powerful way. And as it does that, it relieves the symptoms of the stroke. I said, that's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. He said, it's so effective that every ambulance in the United States has it. And all EMTs are trained to administrate it. And if you can get it to people within the right amount of time, you can really alleviate a lot of the effects and the symptoms of a stroke. And that's how it works. Now, I thought about that, and I thought, wow, that is an amazing advance in medicine, that there is a medicine that people could administrate, and it would bring healing that well. As I was preparing my message today, and as I was thinking about the power of our speech, it became clear to me that every one of us has a version of TPS with us right now. That every one of us has the ability to administrate healing if we know how. And that's a rather remarkable thing. So what I want to do today is I want to turn your attention to the book of Proverbs. And in the book of Proverbs, we're going to talk about the subject of speaking, words. Lots of times in the book of Proverbs, it's figuratively talked about the lips or the tongue. But it's all about how we talk, and it's all about our conversations. And what I think we're going to find out is that every one of us can heal other people. Every one of us can actually be involved in even healing a congregation. We can do it one conversation at a time. And I want to talk to you just briefly this morning about how you and I can heal others and ourselves by the way we use our words, the power of our words. So, Proverbs 12, verse 16, I think it is, if I remember right. Yeah. 18, right. No, what? Is that right? 12, 18? Yes, there it is. Okay. So here we are. This is the core verse that I wanted you to think about. There is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts. So it's possible that we can misadministrate the power of our words, and in the misadministration of them, we can actually hurt people. But the second line of this proverb is the other side of that, the flip side. And the flip side says that the tongue of the wise brings healing. So how do we bring healing? Can we bring healing? How does it work? Now, the book of Proverbs, I have to say, I'm a nerd. You know, I was called to be a nerd the way all nerds are called, awkwardly without eye contact. That's how we're called to be nerds. And my nerdiness, everyone has it, or probably the only area of nerdiness. My area of nerdiness is the Hebrew Bible. I loved studying the Hebrew Scriptures. I loved learning Hebrew. And one of my professors is a well-known professor. His name is Dr. Alan Ross. Dr. Ross has written a grammar on Hebrew, and I was fortunate enough to take classes from him. And he's written a commentary on Proverbs. And so he was writing this commentary on Proverbs, and in it he notes this. He says, in the book of Proverbs, the subject of talking, speech, words, conversation shows up 90 times. 90 times. So if you read through the book of Proverbs, 31 chapters, so you maybe could even do one a day. Generally, most months there are 31. You could actually kind of just make it your habit. But you would find that the dominant subject, more than family, more than business, more than anything else, is the subject of how we use words, because the wise tongue can bring healing. And we can heal. We need healing. And so if we learn how to use our tongue in a wise way, Dr. Ross would say, we are able to actually bring healing one conversation at a time. But that doesn't always work out that way, because we have to actually learn wisdom, and we're more like sword thrust people than we are like healing people most of the time, right? We all have probably stories we can tell of being that. And yet at the same time, you think about what you and I do every day, is most of what we do has something to do with talking, something to do with our words. So one sociologist has done a study. Now, sociologists are nerds in different areas, right? So they're like down into the behaviors of people. And one sociological study that I came across said that we speak 700 times a day. 700 times a day. Now, some of you are thinking to yourself, that's about right. That's about right. And some of you are thinking, they did not study my husband. There's no way he speaks 700 times a day. It's just not possible. Well, okay, maybe we cut it in half. Maybe we say it's 350 times a day. Maybe we get some more of our nonverbal men involved in this and say, yeah, I do that. And some of you are saying, nah, 350 is way, way, way too high. Well, maybe it's 175 times for our reticent to speak men. But we speak frequently. And there's hardly anything we do 175 times a day that we do on purpose and we can actually do well or poorly. And so that's really why the focus of the book of Proverbs in terms of being wise when you live with other people in a congregation, in a city, in a business, whatever it might be, is really focused on how we use our words. How we use our words. And so really all I want to do today is I just want to give you a taste of how we can kind of administer the medicine of our speech and the healing power of our conversations. That's really all I want to get us done today, to get you thinking about what it can be and why it works so well. So now the first part of this is the first lesson comes in the fact that we can administer help to people if we understand the importance of telling the truth. The importance of telling the truth. We have, for example, in chapter 24 of Proverbs, verse 26, whoever gives an honest answer kisses the lips. Now, there's not a lot of verses that are about kissing, but this is one that, like when I was in, 7th grade, I memorized this one. Kissing, that's a good one. I wasn't really caring about what the rest of it said, but I saw the word kissing, so that was a good one. Whoever gives an honest answer kisses the lips. Now, here's the part of the wisdom here. The honest answer. You wouldn't necessarily know this about my work, because I have a business and I work as a leadership consultant, and my company does this, but the biggest piece of my work is studying how people talk and helping people speak to one another in more effective ways. What a crazy job I have, right? And one of the things that comes across, especially as I work with clients here in the Midwest and in Iowa and things like that, is this whole thing about Iowa nice. Anybody know about Iowa nice? Okay, so Iowa nice, there's lots of ways to describe what Iowa nice is, but Iowa nice is where do we tell the truth in Iowa? Never in the meeting, only in the parking lot, right? Iowa nice means that we're never really direct. Psychologists call this passive aggressive behavior. This is a way to be aggressive by never telling people the truth about what we're thinking or what we really, really believe. I would say that Iowa nice or passive aggressive behavior is the chief export of our state. We manufacture it here and we send it all over the world. It's what we do best. And some of the business leaders I work with, when they really are just down on what's happening in terms of their business and their colleagues and their coworkers and their employees and why they can't work together, they just say, oh, it's Iowa nice, the curse of Iowa nice. Well, it's probably a universal problem, not just Iowa, right? And it's an ancient problem too. And so we have in verse 26 of chapter 24, whoever gives an honest answer kisses the lips. Now think about this in terms of how this can bring healing. The word honest in some translations might have right. I think King James had the old translation of the right answer. The actual Hebrew, again, here's my nerdiness, is a straight answer. A straight answer. A direct answer. A to-the-point answer. Telling the truth answer is all about an honest straightforwardness. Sometimes when we go to a doctor or a consultant sometime, like an attorney or whatever, and we know that they're kind of hedging and they don't want to really tell us what's going on, sometimes we beg for an honest answer. We say, hey, doc, give it to me straight. I can handle it. We need it straight. But the big piece of this is it's hard to hear it straight if we don't think the person who is giving it to us straight cares about us. The Apostle Paul says in Ephesians chapter 4 that we ought to tell the truth in love. Telling the truth in love. If you want to heal this congregation or any organization or any family or any place you work, you must be able to give an honest answer to the people that you clearly have demonstrated you love and care about. Telling the truth in love is the powerful medicine that Proverbs calls us to give. It's hard to hear the truth from someone that we don't really think cares about us, has never really demonstrated any connection to us, who really isn't seeking our highest good. And what Proverbs teaches us is that when we administrate this powerful healing that comes from wisdom, we must tell the truth in love. Telling the truth without love is a kind of cruelty, right? Has anyone actually been in middle school or junior high? A lot of truth, but a lot of cruelty, right? Hey, man, you'll get it straight there. But you won't get a kiss on the lips. You won't get it from people who really at this point know how to love you. And so really what we're talking about here is telling the truth without love is cruel. But loving people without the truth is enablement. We never really get better. We just kind of have a soft, ineffectual love. And so telling the truth in love is where the wisdom and the healing begins. And so summon the willingness to be a bad Iowan. Do not be Iowa nice. Make sure that when you tell the truth to people you know you have communicated or are willing to say and communicate, I care about you, or else I wouldn't be telling the truth. But it's got to be both at the same time. That's step one in actually learning how to heal one conversation at a time. All right, let's move on. This time, we're going to talk about too many words. Too many words. Well, if words and speech are medicine, and we all know how medicine works to some degree, well, then we all know that it is possible to overdose, right? Too much of any good thing can be bad. And so we find in chapter 10, verse 19, when words are many, transgression is not lacking, but whoever restrains his lips is prudent. I want to focus on the many words and the transgressions it causes. Again, part of my work over these years has been actually listening to conversations. And in my nerdiness, I do what botanists do. I dissect the rose. I pull the petals from the stem. I actually listen to the conversation and I say, what's going on here? What are the parts of this? And how is this working? I have clients who actually record all of the calls between their clients and their teams. I have had the chance to sit and listen and just kind of record what's happening. And so I've studied conversation. Let me tell you about too many words. The reason too many words bring transgression is something like this. When we talk too much, when we blurt it out, when we babble, when we feel like we must fill the air, what's really typically going on is that we are full of anxiety. And in our anxiety, we are sensing that we might not get what we want. And what we want can be a lot of different things. I want you to respect me. I want you to see things the way I see things. I want you to buy into what I'm buying into. I want you to submit to me. And in my anxiety, if I don't get what I want, I start talking. Many, not all, but many fill the air. I call them tellers. And tellers, when I would actually listen to recorded conversations on the phone, again, these were all done with the knowledge of clients and employees. I would actually look at the percentage of time. And in a teller, they would dominate the conversation. So let's say the phone call was for 90 minutes. 80 minutes was me talking and you having the privilege of listening to me. We overdose. We use too many words. We, in our fear, anxiety, and uncertainty about who we are and what is happening and about God's ability to govern things that we cannot control, we step in and say, if I talk long enough, I can change this husband of mine. I can change this wife of mine. I can alter this employee's behavior. I can get my customer to buy what I want them to buy if I can just control the conversation. And we overdose people on what could be good. We turn our speech into a sword, and we thrust, and we thrust, and we thrust. There is in the book of Ecclesiastes. I actually had the opportunity to take Ecclesiastes from Dr. Ross, and we really got into Ecclesiastes. It's another kind of wisdom book, and it has a different point of view, but it's a great, great book in the Old Testament. And in chapter 6, verse 11, in the NIV translation, they really capture it really well. In 6:11, NIV says, the more the words, the less the meaning. And how does that profit anyone? And the answer is it doesn't. It just leads to transgression. So our words should be straight. Our words should be few. But again, just a preview of all the Bible teaches and Proverbs instructs us on. Let's keep moving. So, we know that they should be straight and honest. They know they should be few. Here's an interesting aspect of this. Proverbs 17, verse 27. 17, verse 27. Again, I read from the ESV, and I don't know what version you might have, but I hope you have a text in front of you, whether it's on your phone or in your lap. I want you to read the scriptures. The word will make you wise. And so here's what we read in Proverbs 17:27. Whoever restrains his word has knowledge, and he who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding. Don't you just love that? A cool spirit. Ever been in a heated exchange with somebody? Things are really getting anxious. Really uncomfortable for us Iowans again, right? Like, I'm about ready to go to the parking lot because I can't handle that much truth in the room, you know? It's like the famous Jack Nicholson moment in A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. That's right, I can't. I'm from Iowa. I'm out of here. No problem. I'm done. Check me out. But a cool spirit, a soft tongue, elsewhere in the book of Proverbs, a cool spirit. What does that mean? It means that the tone in which we speak to people can be part of the healing power of our words. We teach people, part of what I teach people to do is that if you don't have a cool spirit, if you're angry or you're upset, or you feel deep frustration with somebody and you want to give them some feedback, the thing I teach them to do is don't do it. Don't do it until you can do it with a calm demeanor. Why? Well, for one thing, have you ever given anybody a piece of your mind when you had a deep sense of frustration, agitation with them? Have you ever done that? Wait, better yet, have you ever had anybody do that to you? I'll bet you have. And what did you think to yourself when you walked away from that conversation? Did you think, well, they made some really good points? You didn't think that. You thought, How dare they talk to me that way? I'm not a child. I didn't deserve that. And we were responding not to what was said, but how it was said. The cool spirit is part of how the medicine of speech is administered. Some medicines need to be kept cool, right? They have to be administered having been in the right temperature. And the right temperature for healing conversations in the church or in the marketplace or in families or among friends or in high school or elementary school, wherever it might be, is a cool spirit. A cool spirit. What does a cool spirit do for us? Well, first of all, we don't send people away more stirred up by the way they were talked to than the truth they heard. So things get in that wouldn't get in. Words land rather than bounce off. That's really, really important. A cool spirit allows for a fair hearing. If we keep the cool spirit in our speech, I can hear you, and you can hear me. And I can weigh what you're saying. And we can go back and forth. I often tell people that there's a difference between discussion and dialogue. Again, more nerdiness because I'm a words guy. Discussion, there's a reason why discussion rhymes with concussion and percussion. Because in discussion, we are trying to win. But when we have a cool spirit, we have a chance at dialogue. And dialogue says that the truth is not in you. The truth is not in me. The truth is in the middle of the table, and we are trying to understand what's really real here. So it's not personal. It's something we're both trying to understand together. Cool spirit allows for a fair hearing. A cool spirit, opens up the other person to influence. If you are troubled by the fact that I'm telling people the right stuff and they're never hearing it, I often hear this. Like, I was just telling them the truth. How come they didn't respond to it? Cool spirit is pretty important to be able to actually get the words inside. Later on in the book of Proverbs, it says, a soft tongue can break a bone. Now think about that. A cool spirit can take something that's as hard can be on a human body, snap it. It can break down the barriers that people have. I'm telling you the truth that's straight on because I love you, step one. I'm being careful not to just respond to my inner anxiety, and so I'm not just flooding you with words, step two. Step three, I'm not going to talk to you until I can talk to you with a cool spirit. Because I want this to go well. It's not about me winning. It's not a discussion, it's a dialogue. And we're trying to figure out what God is doing in our midst and what Jesus wants. All right. Now, the last of these is a timeliness about our speech. Proverbs 15:23, to make an apt answer. To make an apt answer is a joy to a man, a word in season, how good is it? I mean, how good it is. That's just awesome. To say the right word at the right time in the right way. Man. Now, some of us work with our hands, right? We make something. We bring a tool. We put it together. And when it all comes together the way it's supposed to come together, you stand back from it and you look at it and go, how good is that? That just really came together beautifully. Come over here, look at this. How good is that? Isn't that something? That's so good. I just love, they just came together. It was like, awesome. How good is that? Wisdom and healing in our conversations to bring us together, not separate us, requires us to pay attention to timing, to the right moment, the right word crafted the right way, said in the right way. It's possible, and have you ever done this? I'll bet you have. It's possible to say the right thing in the wrong way at the wrong time and be frustrated by the fact that people don't hear you. Again, in my work world, I often talk to people who don't know how to time their words and make it the right season for what they're saying. And because they can't do that, they come away frustrated. And when I speak to them and I interview them, they say things like this: all I was trying to do was help this customer and they wouldn't let me. Well, yeah, because you didn't understand the season. You didn't understand the order in which you have to speak to people. Now, there's a whole bunch more to this, but this happens in all kinds of situations where we sometimes wonder why I'm just trying to help people and they won't let me. It's because we can't get to the right tool, the right word for the right job at the right time. I've been hard on farmers and Iowans, right? But we need to be good to them right now. We understand that you do things in a season, the right moment, when it's right. You don't plant seed in September. You don't expect to harvest in March. The order matters. The order matters. All right. Just an introduction to how powerful you are. You are ambulance drivers with the most powerful medication that you could imagine. It could heal. But let me turn our thoughts to Jesus. You know, Paul says that in Jesus, all the treasures of knowledge and wisdom are hidden. Let me turn our thoughts to Jesus. And now, in John chapter 7, John says, he actually records how people responded to Jesus. And in John chapter 7, I think it's 46, you'll have to check me on that, but he says that no one ever spoke like this man. When you hear the words of Jesus, no one ever spoke like this man. And I would argue that Jesus is ultimately wise, no sin, God and man, the Word incarnate. And his words were always straight and true. There weren't too many, it was just right amount. They were Goldilocks words, right? Not too soft, not too hard, just right. That was Jesus. It was cool and pointed when it needed to be, and it was timely. Proverbs 13:3, take a look at that. Proverbs 13:3 says something, if you know the story of Jesus, you think, how does this all work? Whoever guards his mouth preserves his life. I think Jesus knew how to guard his speech, and yet he ended up on a cross. How do we think about that? All the treasures of knowledge and wisdom are in Jesus, and yet Jesus can't preserve his life even though his speech is impeccable. His words are always right and healing and true. How do we make sense of that? Jesus on the cross was actually involved in dealing with our foolish, hurtful speech. And what he was doing is this. Jesus was taking on him every hurtful thing you ever said, every painful, unthoughtful, unloving, untimely, too wordy, babbling moment in your life. Every one of those, and Jesus was taking them on himself. And Jesus was about to delete. He was about to hit the delete button. We call it forgiveness. But he was about to hit the delete button. Every lie, every insult, every bit of gossip, every put down, every self-aggrandizing brag, every false promise you and I have ever made was placed on him. And then he hit the delete button. He took it, and he took the ruin and the death it brings. He took the sword jabs, and because of that, we're forgiven. That's what Jesus did on the cross. He paid the price for our speech, our sinful speech, our hurtful speech. So, where are you at the end of this today? I've got just a minute. Some of you are saying, Mike, I got it. I got these 4 points. I'm going to go do this. This will be great. And some of you are on the other side of that and going, I'm really suffering the results of having misused speech. All right? So some of you are on the front end of this. You're going to go out and you're going to try this, and you're going to fail. But you're going to try. But you will fail, because you won't be able to pull this off. And some of us are maybe at a point where we're more humbled by it, and we're suffering from the abuse of others in their talk to us, and maybe we've been part of the reciprocal abuse. If this moment we come to Jesus, who on the cross bore the sin to bring us healing, let him heal you. Focus on Christ. He knows how to make you wise when it comes to how you talk to your kids, your spouse, your boss, each other, elders, whoever it might be, and the stranger on the street. Let the healing begin, one conversation at a time.
When the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply come, longing just to bring something that's of worth that will bless your heart. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within, through the way things appear. You're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for this thing I've made it. song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within. Through the way things appear, you're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for this thing I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for this thing I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus.
Good song. Thank you for joining us today. We pray that you go out and spread the word about Jesus and bring more back with you next week. Thank you for joining us today.